Hey everybody, I hope you guys are all healthy and safe. So that right there is the Hong Kong tram. It is one of the oldest mode of transportation in Hong Kong and also one of the cheapest. There's another one right here. It's basically like a rail that runs across Hong Kong Island. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. This video is about an LG phone. So remember in the very first Iron Man, when Tony Stark was ambushed at the beginning when he was in Afghanistan and then somebody hit him with a bomb? So he pulled out a phone to try to call for help and that phone swiveled. So that phone was an LG device. It was the LG VX9400, I think. So that movie came out in 2008, but it was actually filmed in 2007, just before the iPhone came out and became official. And as you know, once the iPhone came out, it basically changed the whole scene of mobile phones. Everything started becoming a slab, touchscreen slab, like an iPhone. Phones with weird form factors like clamshells and swivel phones kind of died out in favor of the iPhone form factor. And for most of us reviewing phones, we have been complaining that phones had gotten too boring in the last few years. They were all just glass sandwich slabs. Well, until now, because in this month, we got the Microsoft Duo, which is a two-screen foldable device. We have the Samsung Galaxy Fold 2, which is an actual foldable device. And we have here the LG Wing, which is a throwback to that LG swivel form factor. Okay, so I'm actually on the tram now. So as you can already see, this swivel form factor brings the benefit of having two screens. Now you have a screen that runs horizontal and a screen down below. Now LG's been experimenting with dual screen form factor for the last couple of years now with the LG dual screen devices, and generally I am a fan because I multitask a lot. I really like the ability to run two apps side by side, and that's exactly what you can do with the LG Wing. So first let's talk about the overall hardware of this phone. Surprisingly, when the Wing is closed, it actually feels like a pretty solid piece of slab smartphone. So that means there isn't this compromise like it's really weird to use when you're trying to use it as a normal smartphone. It is a little bit thicker than a typical slab smartphone at 10.9 millimeter, and it weighs 260 grams, so slightly heavier and slightly thicker, but nothing that's too bad, particularly for me coming from the Galaxy Fold 2. This thing feels light. And if you use an iPhone 11 Pro Max with a bulky case, it's going to be the same thing. Okay, so looking at the front, you have a 6.8-inch OLED display with FHD plus resolution, and the screen's curved on the left and right side. And you notice that there's actually no notch or no hole punch cutout. There is a small bezel that's symmetrical top and bottom. I really like this look. I like this look way better than the notched look on the LG Velvet. So if you're wondering where the selfie camera is, it is at the top in the form of a pop-up selfie camera. Now the second screen is a 3.9-inch OLED display with an aspect ratio almost 1:1. I think it's like 1.1:1. So it's almost an exact square. Now on the back you have a triple camera system. Right here in the middle is the main camera. It's a 64 megapixel main camera that shoots pixel binned photos. Below it, it's a 13 megapixel ultra wide angle camera. But up here it's interesting. This up top is a 12 megapixel wide angle camera, but it's a gimbal camera. So meaning it's built on the same technology as the Vivo X50 Pro, meaning it floats a little bit. Okay, and we're running, man. So this is the Hong Kong tram in action. So this gimbal camera really does work. LG's built this really clever UI with a digital controller here that resembles like a gimbal stick. And you watch for now, I'm on a moving tram, so the video should be pretty jerky, but it's gonna come out pretty smooth, I believe. Unfortunately, I think it's because the image sensor of the gimbal camera is really small. So meaning footage only looks good if you have good daylight, like right now. If you're shooting at night, footage looks pretty choppy and very noisy. So the gimbal camera, it's basically unusable at night or in low light situations. So in those situations, you'll have to shoot with the main camera instead. Stabilization with the main camera is still pretty decent. Okay, I've got off the tram. I am now on Hong Kong's other mode of public transport, the MTR, aka the Hong Kong subway. So I'll talk a little bit more about the Wing's camera performance a little bit later. I want to talk about what's actually exciting about this phone. The fact that the screen swivels up into this T-shaped device. So I already mentioned that if you're not using the phone in this T-shaped form, it feels like a pretty solid slab smartphone. That's because LG's done a good job of designing the hinge. It's actually pretty sturdy, meaning when you flip it, it does not flip out as fast as you may expect it to. It's a little bit slower, which I admit is not as cool, but at the same time it's safer. That means your fingers are not in danger of getting caught when it's flipping and getting hurt, and also the hinge is going to be a little bit more sturdy. LG says they've tested the hinge mechanism to flip 200,000 times, so that means you can have this phone for 5 years. You flip it like 50 times a day and it still won't reach that number. Alright, I'm back at home. So let's take a look at what this dual screen functionality can do. So when you're on the home screen and you swivel the phone, you see that the UI changes automatically. Now you have this kind of horizontally cycling row of apps. Oh, by the way, if you're seeing a little bit of flickering on the display, that's just because of my camera shutter speed. In real life, you cannot see it. This is, however, unfortunately, just a 60 Hz panel. So anyway, the reason LG placed these apps specifically on this little and large row, it's because these are apps that have been specifically optimized for this T design. So for example, if you open up YouTube and you play a video, you see now on this bottom you have video controls. So you can pause or play video just like that. You can fast forward 10 seconds, go backward 10 seconds, and you can increase the volume right here or increase screen brightness. Now that's the default YouTube app. If you go into Whale, which is a South Korean web browser, I believe it's owned by LG, it actually allows you to watch YouTube videos while having access to the comments and other videos down below. So that's pretty cool. So I can watch my video right here while still go through the rest of my videos, or I can comment and engage with my viewers, you guys basically. So now all these other apps down here that are not on the main menu, that means they have not been purposely optimized for the LG Wing, but all of them still will run on the screen perfectly fine. Just maybe some of them will not show in this upright orientation. For example, if you open up Instagram, it will only open in this orientation. You cannot view Instagram while holding a phone like this. But that's okay, because all you have to do is turn the phone sideways, and now I see the second screen has adjust orientation. Instagram works perfectly fine on this. So this is useful for if you want to go on Instagram while you can search the web or maybe open any other apps. Now, not every app will work in this smaller screen. I think it's because of that 1:1 aspect ratio. So some apps, like for example, Instagram will not run on the small screen. You cannot even find Instagram on this window. Twitter and WhatsApp will not run here too. That's a little bit annoying because I think WhatsApp should be able to run fine on this, and you see WeChat works. So if you use WeChat, you can type and chat with friends here while you're watching Instagram on here or any other app that you're doing. So now to be fair, this is a pre-production software, so maybe things will be fine-tuned, and then WhatsApp and Twitter, stuff like that will run here. The good news is every Google apps work on this small screen. So whether it's Google Maps or Gmail, Google Docs, and yes, you can actually bring up a keyboard to type in this too, although it is a little bit cramped. So if you're doing any typing, you probably want to do it on this big screen. Now, some apps on the big screen will be able to spin in any orientation. For example, Chrome. So right now, we have Chrome in upright position. If you flip upside down, it actually switches like this, and then now you have this window to do other things. Now, one other use that I think it's going to be quite useful is you can have the keyboard display totally on either the small screen or even the big screen. I think that's pretty useful because on the big screen you can split the keyboard and it's a much easier typing experience, because the problem with typing on a touchscreen is not that they're not responsive, it's because on most smartphones they're usually a little bit too cramped. Now you have a much larger screen on which to type. The catch is you have to use LG's stock keyboard to get this feature. If you're using Gboard, it will not fill up an entire display like this, and that's unfortunate because LG's keyboard, it's okay, it's not as good as Gboard or SwiftKey. Now some of you guys might be saying, that's really gimmicky, I don't need to run two apps side by side, especially since the second app's going to be so tiny. Well, that's you. Some people, like me, can actually benefit from having two apps side by side or at the same time on one small pocketable device. I'm not just a YouTuber, I'm also a writer and editor for x8developers.com. So all day long, I'm getting emails, I'm getting Slack messages, I'm getting Asana notifications, I'm getting documents sent in to have a look at this document. Or if I'm going somewhere like a business meeting, I can have Google Maps running on a small screen to navigate, while on the big screen I still have whatever the heck it is I'm doing, whether it's Gmail or Instagram or Facebook. And like I said, even if you see no use for this dual screen purpose, you can still use the Wing like a regular slab smartphone. Like I said, the build quality is really nice. The curvature of the front and the back fits nicely in the hand. And if you grip the phone tightly, there isn't that give, because you know, this phone has two pieces, the top layer and the bottom layer. There's only a subtle give if you press on the lower right corner where the swivel action happens. If you press on the top, if you're tapping on a screen, it feels pretty nice, it feels pretty firm and pretty solid. And this is a pretty good looking smartphone. And on top of that, LG is not charging you a premium to use this phone. This is not a $1,400 device like the Microsoft Duo. It's not a $2,000 foldable. This thing, I mean, LG hasn't announced official pricing yet, but it should be like 800 bucks, maybe even cheaper, maybe at most like 850. So this is basically mid-tier pricing in 2020, and you're getting something that looks very modern, works perfectly fine as a standard slab smartphone, but if you need, you can get some two-screen functionality out of it too. Okay, let's talk about the camera performance really quick. So the main camera, for the most part, it's really good during the day. It's sharp, it's fast to focus. Unfortunately though, the wide-angle camera, ultra-wide-angle camera is kind of weak. It's only a 13 megapixel lens, whereas, you know, the really good ultra-wide-angle camera from Huawei, Xiaomi, they're all 20 megapixel or even 40 megapixel. So by virtue of having not as many pixels to play with, but you have a really wide 117 field of vision, that means photos are not as sharp as they can be, particularly if you zoom in and look at the edges. Now during the day, that's still fine, but at night, the ultra-wide-angle camera, I would say, is below par compared to what the OnePlus 8 Pro, Oppo Find X2 Pro, or the Huawei P40 Pro can do. But again, because this phone is not like $1,000, I think I'm willing to forgive that. Anyway, so that's about it for this first look at the LG Wing. This is still not a full review because I've only used this phone for like 2.5 days, so not a full review, but my impressions are really good, man, because I really just admire LG for doing something different. I say this all the time because the smartphones that came out in the first half of 2020, like Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro, Oppo Find X2 Pro, OnePlus 8 Pro, Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, they're all very good, very capable devices, but they're all very similar. They all had a hole punch cutout, they all have a curved screen, they all have a glass back, they were all slab phones that behaved almost exactly the same. I mean, all of them even ran on the same chipset. So the fact that the LG Wing does something different, I really think it's worth applauding. Like, to be honest, I'm a little bit bored of slab phones. I want phones with unique form factors going forward in 2021. I'm hoping that's foldables, because this is the true future of the smartphone. But if not, I'm okay with dual screen devices too, like the Microsoft Duo, or what LG has done with the LG dual screen, and things like this. You know, like as Mr. Mobile would say, phones used to be fun. I'm just glad that in late 2020, phones seem to be getting fun again, thanks to LG, Microsoft, and Samsung. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you're interested in more content like this, please subscribe to my channel. I have a lot more content coming up. I have the Apple Watch Series 6 on me already. That video should drop probably shortly after you're watching this. And I also have a couple of other Realme, Huawei devices that I will make videos on. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.